My name is Emma Greenstein and I'm one of the mental health advisors at the Open University. This short presentation focuses on the importance of thinking about and managing your mental well-being whilst undertaking your academic studies. We look at different ways in which you can manage your well-being at university, some of the things that you can do for yourselves, and sources of support and resources that are available to you should you wish to access them. I hope you find this interesting and helpful. Our mental well-being has an impact on our ability to work and study, and our work and our studies have an impact on our mental well-being. The two are inextricably linked. They are very much connected. Our well-being and looking after our well-being is important to everybody, regardless of whether or not you're living with an ongoing mental health condition like depression and anxiety or not. It's possible to experience good mental well-being even if you're living with a mental health condition. So on this dual axes continuum, position number 4 would relate to somebody who has a diagnosed mental health condition, but is currently enjoying their studies and pretty good in terms of their mental well-being. Position number 2 is where we find ourselves dipping below the line for well-being, but we don't actually have a diagnosed mental health condition. So when we're talking about mental health and well-being, we're talking holistically. Our mental health fluctuates, our sense of well-being fluctuates from day to day. We all have mental health, and our studies can have an impact on our mental health, both positive and negative. So it's important to really take stock and think about where you currently would put yourself on the dual axes mental health continuum. It can be quite helpful to think about well-being in terms of a scale from 1 to 10. 1 referring to poor mental well-being and 10 being experiencing very positive mental well-being, engaged perhaps in your studies, enjoying relationships, feeling positive and hopeful about the future, and having a good sense of yourself. I don't know anybody that goes through life permanently 10 out of 10 in terms of the well-being scale. It can be helpful to just sort of check in with yourselves on a daily basis and think, where would I put myself today? And to think about what's going on right now. What is leading me to be where I currently am on this scale? And what do I need to do to ensure I either stay where I am if I'm in a good place, or what support might I need, or what could I be doing to try and move slightly up the scale to stop myself from dipping further down towards 1. And I invite you just to pause for a moment and think about what might be testing your resilience right now. What's going on in your life right now? What maybe is pulling you out of shape? As mature students, we face a number of challenges, both related to our studies and in life outside of the Open University. So just take a moment and think about what might be testing your resilience right now. Many of us find it quite helpful to think in terms of a stress container when we're thinking about the competing demands for our time. At any one point in time, often we've got a number of different things that we're carrying around in our stress container. Some related to our studies perhaps, but often things outside of work which impact on our peace of mind. It might be financial pressures, difficulties within family relationships. It may be ongoing health or employment worries. So it can be quite helpful to take stock and just think, what am I carrying around right now? This is one model of thinking about this in terms of having a bucket into which everyday stresses and stressors flow. Other people think in terms of what we're carrying around with us in terms of a rucksack. How packed is our rucksack? When was the last time we took the rucksack off our backs and unpacked what we were carrying? Do we need to be carrying everything around with us? Is there anything we could just put to one side? Is there anything we could give to somebody else? How can we lighten our load? how can we switch off? How can we restore ourselves and re-energize ourselves? If we carry on carrying more and more weight and pressure, eventually we'll end up with backache and our bags become unnecessarily heavy. So it can be quite helpful to reflect on your current levels of pressure and stress and to think about what you might be able to change. Is there anything that you could delegate? What needs your urgent attention? And how are you coping? How do you cope with the amount that you have to do? How are your coping strategies working well for you? Is there anything else that you might be able to explore? What else could you do, for example? And when do you need to get support? I'd like to take you through quite a simple but effective exercise that many people engage with from time to time when we find ourselves worrying unnecessarily about things that, things that we can't necessarily control. So the first stage of the exercise is simply to draw a circle and to write in that circle everything that's on your mind, everything that you are concerned about right now. This is your circle of concern, an opportunity just to capture everything and anything that you are concerned about. Some of these worries may feel small, relatively insignificant. Some of them may be taking up quite a lot of headspace. The bigger concerns that are affecting you. Okay, so this is our circle of concern. Within that circle, there will be a smaller circle, which we call the circle of influence. So this is an opportunity to reflect now on all of the things that you've written down, all of the things that you are concerned about, and see if you can identify how many of those you can actually influence. How many have you got the power to influence in terms of resolution, problem solving, influencing the outcome? So what is within your circle of influence? How much influence do you have over any of the things that you're concerned about? It's probably a smaller circle than the circle of concern. We don't generally have the power to influence everything that we're concerned about. Okay. And finally, we draw the circle of control. This is the center of the target. This is the bullseye, if you like. This is where we need to be focusing our attention. So out of all of the things that you're concerned about, out of everything that you may be able to influence, how much can you actually control? When we focus our attention on resolving the issues that we can control, when we can take action, we feel empowered. And it's a scientific fact that two thoughts cannot occupy the mind at the same time. So while you're focusing on the things that you can control, all of the peripheral worries and concerns that are beyond your sphere of influence and beyond your circle of control, they fade away. When we focus on the outer circle, the circle of concern, where we have no power to influence or power to control, we can feel quite overwhelmed and quite helpless and very anxious. So the idea is we need to really focus our attention on the center of the target, the circle of control, and to take action to resolve the issues that we're worrying about. So this is something you can do. It's particularly helpful to do perhaps at the end of the day as you're switching off from work. If you're settling down to sleep and you find that your mind is hijacked with worries, to actually get out of bed, go old school, get a pen and paper and draw yourself a circle and just empty your mind, everything that you're worrying about, everything you're concerned about. Then think, how much can I influence? How much can I control? And this is where we need to be focusing. Now, I recognise that that is sometimes easier said than done. Sometimes, for many of us, changes to the way we're living, working and studying has actually added extra pressures to an already challenging time. So it's possible that there will be times when you feel more stressed and anxious than normal. You may find it difficult to focus on your studies. Finding ways to feel calmer and to cope with stress is a powerful way of taking control and taking care of your well-being. If you can think about how to create what we might call a self-care toolbox for yourselves so that you have resources at hand to stay calm and manage anxiety, this could be a game changer for you. Some people find it helpful to write, to journal about their everyday experience. For others, it may be talking to family and friends or getting some exercise, going for a walk. And sometimes we might need to seek more specialist advice. It can be helpful to try to identify what your triggers for stress are so that you can identify the signs and act upon them. Real problem worries are about actual problems that need solutions right now. For example, you may be concerned about how you're going to meet an upcoming deadline. Hypothetical worries may be more generic about, global affairs, catastrophizing, imagining the worst case scenario, and everyone worries to some degree. And sometimes it can be hard to switch off from that. It can become problematic when it stops you from living the life you want to live. It can feel demoralizing and exhausting. So it's important that you know where to go for help if that is an issue for you right now. There's a very useful article called Living with Worry and Anxiety Amidst Global Uncertainty, which you may want to check out when you've finished watching this presentation if you find yourself worrying in a way that is problematic for you. There are some key lifestyle choices which we can all make to improve our mental well-being. These were first summed up back in 2008 by the New Economics Foundation as part of a project which aimed to draw on global evidence-based research to create a set of actions people could use to improve their own well-being through life. These became known as the 5 ways to well-being. And you can see them here: connection, being active, giving to others, but also being kind to ourselves, taking notice of the world around us and learning something new, not necessarily something academic. It could be learning to bake, learning a new musical instrument. It could be anything that fires up your enthusiasm and creates new neural pathways, taking on a new challenge. So in terms of connection, I think connection is really important for Open University students. It's very easy to feel isolated when studying at a distance, but you are part of a huge international student community. So finding ways to connect with other students can be really helpful, whether that's within your own tutor group or across shared interests through the student association. Connecting with people outside of the Open University, so not losing sight of the importance of your personal friendships and relationships, connecting with people that you feel safe with, people that can sustain you. So it may be a message exchange or it may be a telephone call. It may be an in-person visit, but making time to connect in a meaningful way with people that we feel good about can make such a difference to our well-being. Being active, there is such a strong mind-body connection. When we take exercise, doing something that we enjoy, and that's different for everybody, we release endorphins and we cut through the stress hormones. So sometimes just being physically active, having a break from your studies, will bring you back to your studies with renewed energy and enthusiasm. Being mindful as well, noticing, really taking notice of the world around you, not just getting caught up in your head. That can be a brilliant antidote to worry. So what helps our well-being? I would say that the most important task of every day is to get plenty of sleep. When we cut down on the amount of good quality sleep we have, our well-being, physical and mental well-being is compromised. Our ability to work and to study is really affected. So when we cut corners with sleep to try and work harder, it can become counterproductive and quite soul destroying. So I would say have a think about what you can be doing to set yourself up for a good night's sleep. There's so much evidence and research out there if you're interested in sleep hygiene to think about, setting yourself up for a restful night's sleep, coming away from screen time and thinking about how much caffeine you drink and what you do in the hours leading up to going to bed. Really important. I'm not going to read through this list here, you can read it for yourselves. The most important thing really is to recognise that what works for one person may not work for another. So it's about finding what brings joy to you, what is good for your personal well-being. It's not for anybody to prescribe this for you. I would say finding something that is enjoyable for you is key here. Focusing on the things that you enjoy, making sure you have time in your schedule for activities that take you away from stress, opportunities to connect with others, opportunities for physical activity and mindful moments as well. So much of this, though, is about balance. It can be so tempting when you embark on a new course of study to go at this at 100 miles an hour. But if we do that, we crash and burn pretty quickly. So I think having a balanced routine where your studies don't take over your life is really important. It's so beneficial to organise a daily routine that involves a balance between activities that give you a sense of achievement, so that might be your studies, um, and activities that enable you to feel close and connected to others, and also activities that you do just for pleasure. When we have an imbalance between pleasure, activity, and close connection, it can really affect our mood. So, for example, if you spend most of your time studying with no time for other activities or socializing, then you may start to feel low and isolated. Conversely, if you spend most of your time relaxing for pleasure and not doing other things that are also important to you, this can also impact on your mood. So at the end of each day, it can be helpful to kind of do a quick check-in with yourself and a self-reflection, if you like, and think, did I get it right for me today? What did I do today that gave me a sense of achievement? What did I do today just for myself, just for pleasure? And have I actually spoken to anybody else or connected with anybody else? Did I get a good balance? And it's not about beating up on yourself, it's about self-compassion and recognizing that some days are more challenging than others. But just being curious, what was going on for me today? Why was there an imbalance, if there was? And what can I do differently tomorrow if I didn't get the balance right today? So I'd like to say just a little bit now about regulation of our moods. When we're thinking about our moods, we're really talking about our background state. Our background state is a combination of two different dimensions that interconnect, our energy levels and our levels of tension. So it's possible that sometimes our mood is kind of tired and tense, not a great place to be. Conversely, we can feel energized and calm. We perform best when we're in a calm, energetic mood. And obviously, we're not going to do so well when we're tense and also tired. So I would encourage you to kind of take notice of your levels of tension throughout the day. Are there times of the day when you feel that build-up of tension in your body or feeling your mind becoming frazzled perhaps? And you're probably already aware that you are automatically, unconsciously, if you like, taking actions to shift your mood. We do that unconsciously. What is it you do when you want to increase your energy levels? What do you automatically do if you're starting to feel sluggish and tired and you can't concentrate? Whether it's opening a window, putting the kettle on, doing something different, taking a break, what do you automatically do? And thinking about how effective these strategies are in the short and long term. So some of these strategies might give you a quick boost. A strong cup of coffee will certainly elevate your levels of concentration in the short term, but long term that could have a negative impact on your ability to switch off and sleep. And too much caffeine can actually make us feel quite jittery. So it's about reflecting on your short and long-term strategies. What do you do throughout the day that's working well for you to shift your energy, to give you more energy or to reduce your tension? And then consciously build those positive actions into a daily routine, one that works well for you.
So what can you do when you're feeling overwhelmed? I'd like to introduce you to one of my favourite simple techniques, the 2-minute stress buster. So if you're in a position to be able to do this right now, if you're not driving or operating machinery, I'd like you just to pause what you're doing just for a moment and begin by taking 1 or 2 nice, steady breaths, breathing all the way in and exhaling. Now look around you and silently name 3 things that you can see in your immediate vicinity. And listen and silently note 3 things that you can hear right now. Sound of my voice, perhaps the hum of your computer, sounds from outside drifting in. Now bring your attention to your body and silently name 3 sensations that you can feel in this moment. Warmth, maybe coolness, tingling. Now bring your attention to smell and to taste. And what do you notice in your immediate awareness when you bring your attention to these senses? Silently name what you experience. Take 1 or 2 nice deep breaths to finish this exercise, breathing all the way in, slow and low. Good, and exhale. And you can just come back to now. That's your 2-minute stress buster, a really excellent technique for grounding yourself in the moment when you're feeling overwhelmed, an opportunity to change your energy and just to shift your focus from being inside your head, feeling overwhelmed, back into the moment. And then you'll hopefully be good and ready to go.
There may well be times during your studies over the coming months and years when you feel that you would benefit from having some support or accessing some of the resources that are available to our students. There's so much available, it can feel a little bit daunting to know where to start. So I'd like to just give you a broad overview now and to tell you a little bit about some of the services available that could help you. The first place to go really is always going to be the student support team. The student support team have a wealth of knowledge and experienced staff waiting to support you. You can contact them by email or by telephone, or even use web chat. If they don't know how to resolve the situation that you're facing, they will be able to link you or signpost you to another part of the organisation, or to external sources of information and support. So the student support team and your tutor for academic concerns would be the first place to go. If you know that there might be times when it's difficult for you to make direct contact with the Open University, you can nominate an advocate to work on your behalf, somebody who can email or speak to a member of staff when it's difficult for you to do so. That can be a family member, friend, or another professional. I'd like to talk a little bit more now about some of the newer services that we have introduced that you may need to contact or access over the coming years. We're proud to have partnered with the text-based service known as Shout. Shout is a free, confidential service that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year. It's a text messaging support service for anyone who's struggling to cope, and it's really a de-escalation service. This means that the volunteers at Shout work with us, work with students, work with people in immediate distress, and the aim is to move them to a calmer state whilst empowering them with support and techniques to handle future issues. Shout is easy to access. It's purely a text-based service, and it's important that you realise it's free and confidential, and it's totally anonymous. So you can text from wherever you are in the UK, but if you are in immediate danger, if your life is at risk, then it's important that you call 999 instead. The sorts of issues Shout can help with are on the slide here. Anything from bullying to depression, panic attacks, etc. To access the service, you need to text the word OU to the number 85258, and that will start the conversation with a trained volunteer, and they will converse with you using text, and you only need to share what you feel comfortable with. Talk Campus provides a safe, totally anonymous online space where you can connect with other students, to air concerns, and to get support for your mental health and well-being. It's available 24 hours a day, every day of the year. We recognise that students sometimes don't want to talk to a member of Open University staff. Sometimes speaking to other students or connecting online with other students can reduce a sense of isolation. So we've launched Talk Campus. It's an app where you can connect with students from around the world if you're struggling or worried about your mental health. So it's a place just for you. There are no staff members there. It's just other students who can support one another. And the research indicates that 79% of students feel better able to cope with their life since using Talk Campus. The Talk Campus offers a safe place to talk anonymously to students around the world about anything that's on your mind. The Talk Campus app is a peer-to-peer support platform for students, so you can use it at any time of the day or night if you need to talk to other students about any worries you may be having. You can also go on there to offer a listening ear and support others. So the app is a safe place for you to talk about your feelings and any concerns. But there are safety checks there. It is monitored by professionals 24 hours a day. So any inappropriate or abusive posts would be removed, and there are safeguarding checks and measures in place. A particular feature of Talk Campus that may be of interest to you is the possibility of joining a group. So students can join a group based on a particular topic or an area of interest. Or you could, if you can't find a group that meets your needs, you could even start your own group. A great way to come together with other people who want to talk about a similar topic or issue, and that in itself can help reduce feelings of isolation. Student safety is at the heart of Talk Campus, so you can opt out of certain topics if you don't want to engage in a particular topic, and it's worth knowing that there are trained volunteers and clinical staff who moderate the posts and the conversations, so it is a safe place to engage with others. The Open University has also created its own Wellbeing app to provide staff and students with access to a whole range of wellbeing and study-related resources. The app offers us tools to start building healthy and positive habits, as well as resources such as podcasts and self-help tools to guide the user towards better mental health and well-being. The more we interact with the app, the more recommendations it generates, tailored towards our own individual preferences, tailored for our own self-care. The Wellbeing app provides a fun and interactive way to create positive habits to help maintain good well-being. The app offers many features, including weekly posts providing advice and support, and a whole library of self-help tools and podcasts to help you improve your well-being as well as your study skills. One of the features is Charlie. It's the app's interactive chatbot, and Charlie will direct us towards recommended app content, as well as encouraging us to develop specific tiny habits to support the healthy behaviours that we've identified we want to work on. And here you'll see a screenshot which addresses the 5 ways to well-being. And if we decided we wanted to focus on one particular aspect and take on a challenge, maybe around certain activities, we can use the Wellbeing app to support us in that process. And here you see the Explore section, which contains a library of resources and podcasts and all sorts of links to encourage healthy wellbeing habits. I'd really encourage you to download the Open University's Wellbeing app and to explore all of the resources to see what may be of benefit to you, if not now, but over the coming months. There's an Explore section which you can have a look at, which will provide you with a whole variety of self-help guides and short podcasts, broad-ranging topics from anxiety through to mindfulness, as well as study-based tools, including a Pomodoro timer, and also resources that can support your study, with podcasts and guidance on a whole range of issues from procrastination to managing exam and assignment stress. Thank you for listening. I hope this has been helpful, and I wish you well with your studies.